Okay, folks, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask for a moment of silence now, please. Okay, I want to thank everybody that came in today and everybody's watching or will be watching later on. If you've got your phones, if you put it on silent, it would be appreciated. Next item is call to order, and I'm going to do the roll call. Today I'm going to start with Commissioner Culberson.
Here.
Mr. Cos.
Here.
I'm here. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Mr. Stephen. Here. Very good. Next thing is public comment. We got 5 speakers. If you come forward and introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes. And I'm going to start with Sharon Wagner. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Sharon Wagner. I live at 22578 Easton Road in Easton, Kansas. And I just wanted to speak today because I noticed on the agenda that you're going to review the Flatland SUV landfill. And I'm glad to see that because on August 30th was the last time that, at least in a public forum, was anything really talked about for the landfill that I can find. And that was planning and zoning that voted to revoke the current SUP. And since then, it's kind of been silent. So I was glad to hear that was on there. And I know you guys are working towards, have other things to take care of. But I just wanted to know, and then on December 6th, I sent all of you an email, and I 100% appreciate those that acknowledged that they received that. Because I wanted you to know that it's continued frustration. Continued frustration. I walked out my door Sunday morning to go to church, and what do I see? A big mound, heavy equipment, and some trash. It never changes, and the smell is unbelievable. That morning I walked out. It went right into my living room, and I shouldn't have to do that. In December before Christmas, it's not just at my home. December before Christmas, my husband and I went to cemetery on Cemetery Hill. The odor was so bad that day at the gravesite. I shouldn't have to deal with that. And the other thing I would say that I understand that there's a process that has to go through, but I've seen, in my own opinion, no indication that Flatland is trying to accommodate any of these concerns that the community has expressed. I read the new SUP that was submitted back in September, and everything within that new SUP was total expansion. They wanted greater hours, sure till 8 o'clock at night, but they wanted to be able to run equipment that didn't cause noise. I'm not sure what that is. They wanted to keep the current hours. They wanted to take an intake of an average number of trucks. I'm a math major, and I'm telling you, that is just fluff, because you can average 12 months across and bring in 300 on one day. The other thing I would say is that there's no indication that anything that they proposed in that new SUP was to accommodate any of the concerns that this community has. When I read that, I thought, where are we at on this? Are we making any progress? Because that new SUP had no indication that there's any help for the residents from the company themselves. And when I read the original SUP, I think that's what's supposed to happen. There's supposed to be some agreement going on. I saw none in that. The other thing is that the bottom line for us is that we should not have to live this way. We have been in this community and lived in our home for almost 35 years. We have built equity in our home. Sure, people say, well, you're not moving, Sharon. Well, I had no intentions of ever leaving my family farm. But you know what? I don't even have an opportunity now because the value of my property has been impacted. Why would I ever take a huge loss on my thing? But anyway, I'll close and say I really hope that you guys continue to support the residents, understand our frustration, understand our levels are getting higher and higher every day. So thank you.
Okay, appreciate your comments. Howard Crook. Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you all? Good. Name's Howard Crook. I live at 31871 223rd Street, Easton, Kansas. And I'm not going to beat this up. You all have been there, done that. You know what's happening. But I heard that it's a lifestyle that we had out there in that community. And it's ruining our lifestyle. I don't know if you guys realize, and you probably do, but the impact it has on us. You know, you take this new SUP or the present, running to 8 o'clock at night. Don't you ever get home at 5 o'clock at night and want to go sit on your front porch or your back deck and enjoy the evening, watch the sunset? You know, it's little things like this. Spring's coming. Do you want to work out in your yard and smell this and listen to this? You know, the other night, a winter night, K-State's playing, we're in our sunroom, and we go to let the dogs out, and this thing comes right in the door, and my granddaughter's sitting there on the couch and starts gagging. You know, I can't stand incense, and I've got my wife burning incense. You know, it's the little things, the fishing, the working the cattle. It's having an impact on our life. It's not a financial thing or a lawyer thing or anything. When it comes to us, it's our lifestyle. We've been there since 47. And to this point, till 2019, we never had an issue with that ever being a landfill or a dump when the other past owners had it. But it is impacting our life. You know, it's just it's unbelievable. You cannot sit out in your yard at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening and enjoy it. It'd be like you guys, which I don't know where you live or not, but you live in a rural community. It'd be like having I-29 move in your backyard. Semis rolling down the hill, jake braking, tracks like, I don't know what you call quiet construction equipment. But click, 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 click is constant. You know, we have family come out and visit, and they're like, what in the heck is that? Well, that's our rural community. That's our country living. You know, our city friends and family come out to visit. So, I mean, that's all I've got. I just want you to know that it's personal. It is impacting our daily lives out there.
Okay.
So
I appreciate your comments, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Karen Crook. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Karen Crook. My husband Lloyd and I reside at 22461 Happy Hollow Road in Easton, just north of the dump, for the past 38 years, and my husband for over 60. We are against any SUPs permitting the CD landfill to operate. I want to speak to you today about the Camp Lejeune disaster and the correlation of the two, one of the biggest ecological disasters in recent memory that took place over decades. The water at this vast Marine Corps base in North Carolina was contaminated from 1953 to 1987 by an off-base dry cleaners, leaky storage tanks, chemical dumping, industrial solvents, TCE, PCE, VC, benzene, and more. Note and point, the dry cleaners were off-base. They weren't in my backyard. But still, over 1 million people were possibly exposed to this toxic water. What does this mean in damage? It's off the charts in money, resulting in enormous health problems, miscarriages, birth defects, neurotoxicities, cancers, and death of innocent people. My father, a respected 23-year Marine Corps veteran, a mighty man of God, was stationed at Camp Lejeune for 5.5 years, where the Kool-Aid we drank was poisoned. Our bathwater, playing the sprinkler, and drinking from the hose were poisoned daily, and we didn't know it. This disaster should have never happened. Excuse me. No amount of money, threatening lawsuits is going to bring him back. He passed away in January of lymphoma B, a cancer related to this toxic poisoning. Who knows what fate awaits the rest of us? We all have a responsibility to protect the atmosphere, ground, and water for us and future generations. This landfill has something that smells toxic to me. The air, ground, and water are all affected. KDHE has failed us. While an already compromised systems due to COVID and burning and putrid smell are increasing and the threat of sickness in our livelihoods, KDHE has failed us. I don't believe the dump has ever put liners throughout the entire dump, which prevents leaching of chemicals and compounds into the ground and water, which removes vital nutrients, contaminants, and causes deficiencies in crops that affects thousands of people and more who feeds the water which feeds through Stranger Creek down to other communities and to Water One to a huge metropolis in Olathe, Kansas. We should be protected by the Clean Air Act. KDHE has failed us again. Groundwater contamination always is due to human activity and error as elected officials representing communities and taxpayers. Please, don't let this be another Camp Lejeune. This needs to be cleaned up and shut down. Please, we're begging you. Thank you, and may God help us all.
Thank you for your comments. Greg List. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We're going to keep it quick. You guys got a lot on the agenda today. It's still a nuisance. It's 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. Commercial landfill in a residential area. You guys talk about the comprehensive plan all the time. There's no way this fits a comprehensive plan. The north end, it's been almost a year since the cease and desist order. We've been put on the back burner. Over 3 years since the first documentation of informing that this is getting out of hand, put on the back burner. It's been 5 months since Planning and Zoning voted to recommend termination of their existing SUP. They already have a new one in. The ball needs to get rolling. You did that with the sand pit a couple weeks ago. You denied it, said put a new SUP in. Well, they're already a step ahead then because they've already got the new SUP in. No reason to keep on treading our feet on this. Terminate their SUP and go forward with it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Did Chris Keller show up? Okay. That was the last one. Hey, folks, I appreciate your comments. Believe me, they're being heard. Okay, the next thing is administrative business. Mark, do you have anything?
Commissioners, just wanted to bring up the Apex project down in Johnson County. There are a couple of meetings that have been scheduled for basically briefings on that. And while I think that we obviously have a great concern or interest in that project, I don't know what our involvement is going to be in the actual committees or teams that are making some of the decisions. So I think it would be good if when we attend these two, I want to call them just kind of coordinating meetings, that we have kind of a realistic expectations when we come to those. And I think that from our perspective for the county, probably the most impactful thing that we might be able to get would be the connector between K10 and I-70 that's been contemplated for 30 plus years by KDOT.
Yep.
It would qualify for the base grant, but looking at what they have working, it doesn't look like that's one of their priorities for this project. So I think maybe it'd be good if we started pushing something along those lines.
I think, Mark, staying in front of them is the important part, and I think that's what you guys are taking the lead on. Anything else, Mark?
Nope.
Okay.
I have
I'm sorry.
one
Go right ahead.
It's on the consent agenda.
Excuse me. This is.
So I saw it in front of you. Okay. Commissioners?
I was going to let you know, I already reserved.
Okay. I saw the invite go out. Okay.
Well, I think we're ahead of the game on this, being we have a transportation study getting.
Yeah, I agree, Doug. So. Okay, Commissioners, anybody on the commission?
I have one thing, Mr. Chairman. Recently, there was a planning and zoning issue that on a track split that required a line to be straight, and then on subdivision rules, you can ask for a variance to have your lines not to be straight on that. And I was wondering if what we needed to do as a board to change the policy that allow track splits to have the same variance process as a plating does in a subdivision. Is that just changing the policy, or what do we got to do?
David, do you have any comments on that?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the matter Commissioner Doug Smith is referring to, I'm familiar with. Your current regulations do offer provisions in your subdivision regulations to take into account topographic anomalies, such as farming terraces, need for entrance, things of that nature. The track split regulations do not contain similar language and generally call for perpendicular lines on boundaries. That having been said, to change that policy, the process would be to direct staff to prepare appropriate language for the Planning Commission to consider, have the Planning Commission consider and the matter and offer you recommendation as to the change in the rules and regulations.
Commissioners, y'all have a problem with that? Send it back to take a look at it.
No, I just don't think a track split should
Yeah.
have stronger language and rules than a plat.
Yeah, I think we can.
What's the time frame on that?
Well, Commissioner, since the Planning Commission meets only once a month, I think we're probably too late to have it on your, or its February hearing date, because there would need to be some publication made. So possibly the Planning Commission could hear the matter in March and make a recommendation that you could act on shortly thereafter.
This is, what I'm concerned about is this is going to work an injustice on a person that's under the rules of agriculture. They have the requirement by other government, layers of government, that you have to have your terracing done a certain way. And because our rules don't correspond to that, now we have a person that's not going to be able to. You know, when we first got elected, I remember Commissioner Shimke was here. We were trying to streamline these things so that we didn't allow government to kind of get in the way of people's ability to convey property. And so we have a good business environment in Leavenworth County. And I think if there's a way that we can make this so we don't work an injustice here, I think that would be appropriate.
David, is it a possibility, even though the county commissioners always set the direction, that this one that I think Doug's referring to could come back and that could be handled differently?
If I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Commissioners, you know, we have a lot of policies and procedures in place, and at some point in time they were put into place by a commission for a reason. I find that most of our policies came out of a necessity because something came up and happened that created an issue. And I'm sure this policy that we're referring to is exactly the same. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be amended. It probably needs to be updated. But we don't know the original intent when it was put into place. And I think it would be appropriate to have staff review the policy and come up with appropriate language to amend it, and have the board review that before we grant any exception. You know me, I don't like exceptions to rules, because then why have the rule? So if we could wait on any action like that until we have a chance to bring it back to you and brief you on what the issue is and what the proposed change would be, to make sure that any exception would fit within that change.
Can we have that by next week?
I can work and try to get that next week. You realize that it only gives me 2 days. So I will try, but if I can't, the following week.
I think the more what we're trying to do is that if we've got something that's happening like this, we don't want to wait 3 months.
Right.
If we need to review that and bring it back even for the board to take action now, if we've got something that's not serving the purpose designed to do, we need to do that. So
I will do that. I will do that, and we'll have it as soon as we can. I just don't know if I can commit to next week. Or
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's just, you would think you'd be able to get a variance on a track split when you can do it in a subdivision. So,
Well, to update these things every year, no time.
Just as a point of clarification, these are rules established by the Board of County Commissioners, and these are rules that we determined that in the interest of justice for this case, that we wanted to make an exception. We are empowered to do that.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners?
no, sir.
Oh, I did have one that I didn't bring up.
Surprise.
Well, I didn't know where to fit it in, but there's a lot of agenda.
Go
here
ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
I'd like to make a motion for the consideration of my fellow commissioners that we air work sessions, much as the city of Leavenworth does, as we currently air our regular meetings. This is a request that's come, and I've been through, obviously I've been through 2 long months of campaigns, but I can tell you I heard from a lot of people. A lot of my folks are driving 45 minutes even to come here from the south part of the county. And they really want to know what's going on here, and a lot of our business is conducted in the work sessions. Now, I know there's arguments on both sides of this, but I believe that as we've progressed, we didn't used to air our regular meetings.
Thank you.
And I do, and Commissioner Smith was the one that made the motion to do that. But I think as we move forward and openness and transparency, this is a step we should make. And I'd like to make a motion that we air the work session.
I'll second that for discussion. Commissioners, comments?
I I supported 100% when we done our meetings live because we were making decisions, business was being conducted, votes were being taken. And I support that, and I stood behind that. And it's a good thing I did because the pandemic came, and that's the only way we had meetings. So I'm happy with the way things are. So,
Okay. Vicki?
we're not making any decisions.
Although I understand, the thing of airing the work sessions and things, I think that one of the things that happens, and I don't know where we stop the practice of moving from up here down to a level where when we're working with staff, when we're working with other members of the community and things in an informal session, just kind of communicating. I like it when we were down below because then we're kind of all on an equal playing field with instead of the all-powerful commission in a work session. I don't know when we stopped doing it because when I first was on the commission, we sat it around a table and everybody kind of could communicate. But I think that when it's informal that way and it's not being televised, there seems to be more relaxed communication between the commissioners and staff and the public as opposed to when the camera is on. I think that people are not quite as, I don't know what the word that I'm looking for, but real. I mean, and so I think that we have really good productive conversations in the work sessions. And then if we say that we're going to televise all work sessions, it makes it difficult to move to a different location to have a work session. So there was a time when we worked with jointly in a work session with the Planning Commission. We were downstairs for room. Oops, and we didn't have, to have room to do that, or, for anything else, so that, if I would be supportive of having, maybe televising a work session that really is going to have a productive thing where the public might really be engaged. But most of the time, sorry, but it's kind of boring stuff in the work sessions. It's nothing, no decisions are made. We may be asking for more information, for staff to bring us more information. Sometimes they last only 10 minutes, just to get, something that we're wanting in an informal basis that is not part of our formal meetings. And everything that happens in a work session comes back into a formal board meeting with the explanation. Staff will bring an explanation that explains why a policy is being written or changed. That it came from the Board of County Commissioners to do that change. And so I just think that, I like the informal communication that happens in the work sessions, and I think that televising it would kind of take away from that, and people would not be quite as comfortable with being, especially the people that were asking to produce things for us. That's just my opinion.
I have a different take on that. I think and I've checked around, City of Lansing doesn't air those. I talked to people from Leavenworth, did something. To me, when you discuss things at a work session, because it's no different than here, really. So the things we're discussing are impacting 80-something thousand people. And I've noticed when you have public share it on work sessions, the word gets out quicker before it comes before the body to be talked to, and they have time to contact us, or they'll show up. Sometimes when you do these other things, it's the next day, and we're a large county, so getting the word out sometimes can be pretty hard. I had to think about this because I've gone both ways on this over the years as my past jobs, but I think it's time now for us to open that door for people to see exactly what the conversations are. It may get them to generate more conversations in that. It's just my thing. Jeff?
Probably split 50-50 on this. I see both sides. The work sessions, if I feel like we get more done and it's more laid back and relaxed atmosphere, you don't have to worry about exactly everything you say. Chad was really good about saying things he probably shouldn't say in regular sessions, so work sessions you didn't have to worry about that. I'm all for transparency. I don't have any issue with that at all. Everything in the work sessions is brought forward in the regular session, so I think people feel like they're missing out on something. Like we talk about stuff in a work session they never get to hear, which is not true. Everything in a work session surfaces in usually the very next public meeting. But
I think that by airing it just gives folks heads up, especially people down south or people way up north, what's being discussed that they may not know. I mean, what are we, 83,000 residents? And what I hear from a lot of people all the time, unless you live in the core area, then what I hear all the time is I didn't know that was coming up. And I know we do a good job of putting things out, but maybe people should hear what we're saying in work sessions and the discussions we're having, and not hold that back so they know how we really feel about these issues.
And like
And they
I
can
say, I agree.
contact us and say, Mike, you're out of your mind. Why did you, we don't like that whatsoever. I feel sometimes people are surprised when they come up here, or they don't know after we brought the planning commission or whoever up, and they make a vote, and then they call me later and say, well, when's this been going on? Now, I know there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity, but I also think that people can't show up. We're limited in seating too, and they can't show up. And whether we do it up here or do it down there, I think the people can watch and see, because every citizen, there's an issue that's very important to them, and we discuss a lot of stuff out here trying to fix some things over the years, and I think we've done a good job on doing that, especially the last few years, because I compliment the other county commissioners. They work hard and they make their own mind up. They'll decide what they want to do. I just think it's something we need to consider and go forward in the future. Mike, you have something?
Yeah, I just I'd take something like the capital improvement plan where we're working on the roads. I get tons of calls. Why is my road not paved? Well, if they were privy to the information that we had received at the work session dealing with the roads, they might have an understanding of the budgetary constraints that we're working under. And I sort of disagree with the fact that what's done here a lot of decisions in the work sessions are informal decisions, and then we bring them here and they're formalized. But we make a lot of decisions, preliminary decisions in work sessions, because we hash it out in the work session.
That's true.
And I just think, especially on the road issues, maybe people would have a little bit more understanding of what we're up against, because we're not going to be able to pave every road in Leavenworth County. Because your taxes would go through the roof, and maybe if they were following that a little closer, and on some other issues. I just think that as time goes on, people are wanting to have more openness, transparency in government, and this is one way we can make it happen.
Any other commissioner?
No, I was just going to follow up. The only thing I worry about losing is the candid conversations that you have in work sessions. People are more shy with the cameras on. We won't hear what people are really thinking if the camera's on.
I don't know. I've been sitting there 2 years. I'm seeing a lot of people very proud of what they're telling me out here.
Well,
So I don't know.
Maybe I think that our staff and the commissioners I think is what Jeff's referring to. I mean, and it just is. It's a whole different atmosphere when we're having a work session. And I know that if you're not present to attend those, and that's unfortunate, the dynamic changes, and so we won't have. I think we'll lose something. I mean, I'm good either way, but we will lose something along the way. And I think that even staff probably would agree that the dynamics change between even when we transition from a regular board meeting here to 5 minutes later we're in a work session, and the whole atmosphere of everything changes because the camera's off.
Okay.
That's just.
Anybody else?
And some of the things that come up in the work session, staff is not prepared.
Right.
And they have to get back, and they may have to leave the work session and come back and bring the material in and stuff like that. It is informal. But I would support any large work session. Say we have a work session on the battery plant. I would support that.
Right.
Anything that's huge. But as far as policies, small work session, I would not support it.
Okay. I think we've beat this to death right now. I'll call the roll. Mike made the motion to start televising our work session. I've seconded, and I'll call the roll. Mr. Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Cos.
Nay.
Mr. Smith, aye.
Nay.
Aye.
It passes 3-2. We can always go back and revisit. All righty. Any other commissioner have anything on that part? Okay, let's go to the consent agenda. Jeff?
Mr. Chairman, if nothing needs to be removed, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it. Let me see. We had the one thing that now that we got a second, we talk about, this is where we can talk about the, I think you want to talk about the license for Lake.
Yeah,
We're not see a problem, but I didn't know if you wanted to say something about that. Okay. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Yeah, Liz, we're just right here right now. Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Collins? Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Very good. Now we're going to motion to adjourn, signed aye. And what that means is we're about to change some things. We need to do a motion to appoint a temporary chairperson. As a chairman, I make a motion to.
Do we need to formally make a motion to
Signed aye.
sign
We have to
that?
motion.
Yeah.
You want to do that? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I move that we adjourn to signed aye.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Thanks for catching that, guys. Now, as the chairman, I want to appoint a temporary chairperson. I nominate Commissioner Vicki Collins.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Collins?
I'll abstain.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Stevens? Very good. Now we do a motion to convene.
I move that we convene the regular session.
Second.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Okay.
And let me say, I would like to express my appreciation to your service as our chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I
Appreciate it, Mike,
Absolutely.
for the last 2 years.
Great job.
Okay. Vicki, let's change seats.
Well, I think first we need to, okay, but we need to consider a motion to
move
appoint a new
chair.
chairperson.
Yeah, but that we know.
That's you.
Oh, I
I'm
forgot
getting ready to make
that.
the motion, so just get over here.
Okay, so you must be going to make the motion.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep my seat warm.
Yep, I'll keep your seat
Okay.
warm. I'll keep your phone.
Huh?
Yeah,
keep
phone
your phone?
No, you-
phone goes with it.
Do you notice how hot that seat is?
Yeah, okay.
Wait just 1 second. Let me sign something, and then I'll make a motion. Did I leave my pen over here?
Yeah, probably all the same names.
I probably dropped it. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to, as a regular commissioner, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Vicki Cause as a new chairperson.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll, beginning with Commissioner Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
I abstain.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Righty.
Okay, motion
Congratulations.
carries. Thank you. I'll try to do a good job. I'll try to do as good a job as he does.
It's your show now, Vicki.
Maybe not. But one thing I'll say is that I'm the first female chair ever to chair the Board of County Commissioners. We've had one other female, but never a chair, so
She
we're
never
kind
chaired?
of.
Dawn
No, she
Scheller
never
never
chaired.
did?
According to the records, she never chaired.
I thought
so-
she-
Ladies, I want y'all to remember who made that motion, okay? When we get back to elections and.
Right, but I think it's, we need to encourage women
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
seek public office and run for the next county commission as the second district chair, or county commissioner. I'm encouraging anybody that's interested, or find someone. So thank you very much. Okay, moving on. We need to consider a motion to set regular meeting days. Do we have anyone that wants to make a change, or do we want to continue or expand, or?
Madam Chair, I move that we keep Wednesday as our regular meeting days.
At 9 a.m., and I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Discussion.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we tried. I get a lot of feedback, people asking, why don't you have evening meetings? And I just wanted to make sure everybody realizes that we did that for a
I made
year.
a motion to do that.
Yeah.
And we had less people here at night than we did
Zero
during
people.
the day.
Exactly.
That's right.
We had 0 people show up. So I just want to make sure everybody knows we tried it. So if you're asking yourself, why don't we have evening meetings so people can make it when they're at work during the day? We tried that, and we got 0 people showing up for those meetings. So we moved it back to Wednesdays, where at least we do have some people.
I have a question for David. Are we free? Can we move? If we gave public notice, like, could we have a meeting in Tonganoxie or a meeting in Linwood or a meeting in Easton occasionally? Are we allowed to do that, or do we have to meet at the county seat?
Commissioners, you can have meetings anywhere you choose, but I would suggest that you make decisions in this room.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
but sorry, is that a legal requirement, or?
There's no statutory provision for it. However, I know there are Attorney General's opinions that the business of the Board of County Commissioners should be conducted in the designated county seat, and this is the county seat.
And I think that the other thing is you have to remember, we have the system in place to record, and any place else that we might go, there is nothing in place
Yeah, I
to
agree.
facilitate that.
Yeah, I agree.
And security.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion? So we're good with Wednesdays at 9 a.m.? Everybody's good with that? Okay, I'll call roll. Jeff
Aye.
Robinson, Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we need to consider a motion to approve the official newspaper for the county.
Currently, the official newspaper is the Leavenworth Times. It is a local paper that is produced here in Leavenworth County, and that has been the reason that the commission has remained consistent in keeping the Leavenworth Times as the official newspaper. It's published several times a week, and the circulation is greater than, for instance, the Tonganoxie Mirror.
Yeah, I make a motion that we make our official newspaper of the county, Leavenworth Times.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Commissioner Colvin?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we need to consider a motion to approve the 2023 Leavenworth County pay plan schedule.
No, you've got D.
What?
Got D, Vicki.
Oh, depository?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's consider a motion to approve the official depository for Leavenworth County, and this we're back to.
Currently, Leavenworth County has Commerce Bank as the current depository. We do have a contract with them, and it would be our recommendation to remain with Commerce Bank.
It would be kind of a hassle to make any changes, I think.
Right.
It's a nightmare. But is there anyone that has any further discussion on this? Everybody okay? Then I'll start the roll call with
We need-
Commissioner.
Made a motion.
Need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion. Okay.
I move that we accept the county clerk's recommendation to have Commerce Bank as the official depository of Leavenworth County.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Okay, sorry. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Now we are consider a motion to approve the 2023 Leavenworth County pay plan schedule.
That has a
We
resolution.
need to,
Yeah, it's a resolution.
Commissioners, it's just a pay plan for the staff of Leavenworth County. The next item on the agenda is a resolution that approves the pay for the elected officials.
Okay.
do they have any questions on the pay plan, the information?
I'll make a motion we approve the 2023 Leavenworth County pay plan schedule.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Discussion? Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Stephen? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now, we need to consider a motion to approve Resolution 2023-3, setting the elected official salaries as approved in the 2023 budget.
Each year, it is the Board of County Commissioners' responsibility to set the elected official salaries. These salaries were budgeted back when we approved the budget in August, and it is just a formal resolution to adopt what was decided in the 2023 budget.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-3, setting the elected official salaries approved in the 2023 budget.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Get those Smiths mixed up
Motion
there.
carries. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready to executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for the consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume meeting at 10:10 in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioner Culverson, Cause, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, and Commissioner Mike Stevens, Senior County Counselor David Van Perrys, County Administrator Mark Lofrey, and Legal Counsel for the county, Andrew Holder.
Do we know the time that
Yeah.
we want to have for that?
10:10.
10:10? Okay.
10:10, yeah.
Be 30 minute executive.
I'll
Second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens? Aye. Okay, motion carries. We will be back. Wait patiently.
Let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:10. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county. Madam Chair, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for the consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The board resume open meeting at 10:30 in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioners Culverson, Cause, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, Commissioner Stevens, Senior County Counselor Dave Van Perrys, County Administrator Mark Lofrey, and Legal Counsel for the county, Andrew Holder.
Second.
A motion and a second. Start roll call with Commissioner Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
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 Let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:30. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county. Madam Chair, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume at 10:40 in the meeting room of the board. The present in the executive meeting will be Commissioner Cause, Culverson, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, Mike Stevens, County Counselor David Van Perrys, County Administrator Mark Lofrey, and Legal Counsel for the county, Andrew Holder.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Voting. Commissioner Culberson? Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
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 Let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:30 or 10:40, excuse me. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county.
Okay. Counselor, can you please provide us with a little bit of an update and review on the Flatland?
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, in February of 2022, Leavenworth County took action to issue a cease and desist order to Flatlands operations that I'll refer to as the Easton Landfill. Subsequent to that, an action was filed in U.S. District Court against the county. It's pending today. What I'd like to tell you is that with the primary goal of the county, the overwhelmingly primary goal of the county, to be to address the environmental issues that it believes exists at that landfill site, intensive negotiations have been taking place. I anticipate being able to give you a final action report next week.
Any questions?
So that will be on the agenda for a final action next week?
Yes.
And I'd just say something too. That folks, we know how long you've been waiting on this, and there, as you saw in the executive sessions we came in and came out of, we will have an answer next week. We're gonna get this corrected one way or the other, and I'll tell the people that own the property too, something like that. You need to come to the table because we're getting ready to make a decision on this to fix this problem.
There's nothing else. We'll go ahead and, is there any other task before the commission, any other additional comment? I don't think we had anybody that was signed up.
No, we weren't. We didn't.
So, I'll start with Commissioner Culbertson. Do you have anything to report for?
I don't have anything to report, but I just wanted to follow up with what Mike said. So, just so you guys know, we're following legal advice one more time. And I don't know about the rest of the commission. I can't speak for them, but that's exactly where I'm at, is following legal advice one more time. I think this has been kicked down the road long enough, and people are suffering, and people are tired of this, and it's getting ridiculous. But
Absolutely.
That's where we're stuck right now. And so they're saying they need one more week to get this figured out.
Okay. My turn?
Yes, your turn.
Folks, we'll see you in a week for sure. On a positive note, and don't hate him because of me, I got my dad to come up from Georgia yesterday for my swearing in, Colonel Smith. So, Dad, glad you made it to one of these meetings. You made it to one of the more exciting ones, I will tell you. But there's a bunch of good people in the audience, and we're just trying to get something worked through, but I'm glad you could make it. And Wes, thanks for taking care of him over there. That's all I got.
Okay, Commissioner Smith.
Just want to welcome you as
Can I just say what an honor and privilege it's been to be here and watch you good folks work for the government of this county. Thank you for what you do and keep up the good work. So proud of you.
It was
Thank
an honor
you.
to meet you,
It's
sir.
nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. No, I just want to welcome you as the new chairperson, and just want to thank the past Chairman Smith as
Thanks,
for
guys.
doing a great job the last couple of years. I appreciate your leadership. Other than that, I just have a Bayshore City Council meeting tonight.
So
Stephen?
I don't have anything.
Okay, and I will be going to Kansas City for Martin Luther King Day celebration on Friday with the Kansas City Area Transit Authority. Had a meeting with them this past week, and also met last week with the Workforce Partnership, and we have narrowed down the contract for the WIOA contract, people that have applied to 3 people, and we will be making a decision on that here in the next probably 6 weeks after we've kind of gone through all of the processes. And other than that,
Is there any MLK celebration on one?
on Monday, there is a Martin Luther King event that is scheduled by the NAACP that will be at the event center across the street from Haymarket Square, and it's more of a health fair
Okay.
type of an event, and that will be
What time it is?
from 4 p.m. I believe. I'm not from
All right,
4
we'll
p.m.
find
to
out.
8. I think it's like from 4 to 8.
Okay.
But that's all that I am completely aware of at this time. So if there's no other action before the board, I'll.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Culbertson? Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
I vote aye.
All right.
We are adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying that. I'm thinking.